Dr. Elaine Carter collapsed in the emergency room corridor at 2:47 a.m., blood on her scrubs, 48 hours without sleep, haunted by the ghosts of patients she couldn't save, and by the one death that destroyed her 6 years ago. When she opened her eyes, she wasn't in the hospital anymore. She was in the back of a black Mercedes GU, and the man watching her with unreadable dark eyes was the most dangerous person in Chicago. A Korean Mafia boss who had been shot in her ER 3 nights before, who remembered her trembling hands as she stitched his wound, who now held her life in his palm like something fragile and irreplaceable. He whispered in perfect English, "You saved me. Now I will not let you destroy yourself. While I tell you this story, one that will make you feel many emotions, click the subscribe button. It's the only way to support us. And thank you." Elaine Carter had stopped sleeping in her own apartment 3 months ago. She slept in the staff lounge on a cracked vinyl couch, her phone alarm set for every 90 minutes, because the nightmares came faster when she slept longer. Always the same dream. Her mother's car flipped on the interstate, Elaine 23 and fresh out of residency, arriving at the scene before the ambulance, her hands slick with her mother's blood, unable to stop the internal hemorrhaging, unable to do anything but watch her die. "I'm a doctor," she had whispered into her mother's hair. "I'm supposed to save you." 6 years later, she worked 70-hour weeks in Chicago Metro Hospital's trauma unit, the most brutal ER in the city. She took every shift no one wanted. She volunteered for the worst cases. She barely ate. Dr. Hassan, the chief resident, pulled her aside one Thursday. "Elaine, you're burning out." "I'm fine. You fainted during a code blue yesterday. Low blood sugar. I'm fine." She wasn't fine. She owed $280,000 in student loans. Her father had died of liver failure 2 years after her mother. She lived on vending machine coffee and granola bars. She had exactly $340 in her checking account. And every single night, she prayed the same desperate prayer. "Let me save just one more. Let me be enough for just one more." The hospital served the South Side. Gang violence, overdoses, stabbings, shootings. Elaine saw more death in a week than most doctors saw in a year. She knew the names of the local gangs. The West Side Crew, the South Kings, the Silent Blades, a new, brutal organization rumored to be run by Koreans, ghosts who moved through the underworld like smoke. She didn't care about gang politics. She cared about the 19-year-old who bled out on her table because the ambulance took 40 minutes. She cared about the little girl with pneumonia whose mother couldn't afford the ER bill. She cared too much, and it was killing her. On the night everything changed, Elaine was triaging a gunshot wound. Young man, maybe 25, bullet in the shoulder, stable but losing blood fast. He had an entourage, 4 men in black suits, silent, watching her with predator eyes. Korean, all of them. Elaine didn't ask questions. She never did. She stitched the wound, gave him antibiotics, wrapped his shoulder in clean gauze. The man never flinched, never made a sound. His eyes stayed on her face the entire time, black and fathomless, reading her like a book she didn't know she'd written. When she finished, he said in a low voice, "You are afraid." Elaine's hands froze. "Not of me," he continued. "Of yourself." She stepped back, heart hammering. One of the suited men handed her an envelope. "Don't," she started, but they were already gone. Inside the envelope, $10,000 in cash. Elaine stared at it, hands shaking, and then she shoved it into the hospital's charity fund box and scrubbed her hands until they bled. 3 days later, the West Side Crew sent a message. They firebombed a car outside the hospital at dawn, a warning to the Silent Blades, to the Koreans who had dared to move operations into South Side territory. Elaine was walking to her car when the explosion went off. The blast threw her into the pavement. She lay there, ears ringing, vision swimming, tasting blood, footsteps, shouting, hands on her shoulders, rolling her over, a voice, deep, calm, absurdly gentle. "Doctor, stay awake." She tried to focus, the man from the ER, the one she'd stitched. He was lifting her, carrying her, and she wanted to tell him she was fine. She could walk, she didn't need help, but the world went black. Elaine woke in silk sheets. Her first thought, "I'm dead." Her second thought, "This isn't a hospital." She sat up too fast, and pain lanced through her skull. The room was enormous, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago skyline, minimalist furniture, abstract art on the walls, everything in shades of black and white and silver. A penthouse. The door opened. He walked in like he owned the air itself. Tall, lean, perfectly tailored black suit, dark hair swept back, a face that could have been carved from stone. Beautiful in a way that made Elaine's chest tighten with inexplicable fear. "You fainted," he said. "Concussion, malnutrition, severe exhaustion. I had my physician examine you." Elaine's voice came out hoarse. "Who are you?" "My name is Kang Min-jun." He sat in the chair across from the bed, movements controlled, precise. "I am the head of the Silent Blades." Her blood turned to ice. "You're—" "Yes." His gaze never wavered. "I am what you would call a criminal, a gangster. The Korean Mafia, if you prefer the dramatic term." Elaine tried to stand. Her legs buckled. He was across the room in 2 strides, catching her, easing her back onto the bed. His hands were gentle. "You are not a prisoner," Min-jun said quietly. "But you are not safe. The West Side crew knows you treated me. They will assume you are valuable to me. They will use you. I don't even know you. That will not matter to them." Elaine's throat was dry. "Let me go." "Where? Back to your apartment with the broken lock? Back to the hospital where they park car bombs?" Min-jun's voice was still calm, but something flickered in his eyes. Something raw. "You collapsed in the ER corridor 2 nights ago. 48 hours without sleep. Your colleagues found you unconscious in a pool of your own vomit." She flinched. "I had you brought here," he continued. "You have been asleep for 16 hours. You needed it. You had no right." "I had every right." Now his voice hardened, just slightly. "You saved my life, Dr. Carter. I do not forget debts, and I do not allow people I owe to destroy themselves." Elaine stared at him. There was something terrifying in his absolute certainty, his unshakable control. But beneath it, hidden, almost invisible, she saw something else. Fear. Min-jun stood, walked to the window. "The West Side crew will escalate," he said. "They want me out of Chicago. They have already killed 2 of my men. They will not hesitate to hurt you to hurt me." "Then let me go," Elaine said. "Let me disappear. I'll leave the city." He turned to face her. "You cannot run from them. They have your name, your address, your schedule. They know about your student loans, your father's death, your mother's accident." His eyes held hers. "They know you pray at St. Michael's every Sunday at 7 a.m. Elaine's heart stopped. "How do you—" "Because I know everything about you, Dr. Carter." Min-jun's voice was soft now, almost tender. "I have known since the moment you touched my wound and your hands shook. Not from fear of me, but from fear of failing. I have known since you put my payment into the charity box instead of keeping it for yourself." He crossed the room again, crouched in front of her so they were eye level. "You are good," he said. "Truly good. And good people do not survive in my world unless someone protects them." Elaine's voice broke. "But I don't want your protection." "You do not have a choice." A phone buzzed. Min-jun answered it in rapid Korean, his expression darkening. He hung up, looked at Elaine. "They just burned down your apartment," he said quietly. "You have nowhere else to go." The penthouse became a gilded cage. Elaine had her own room, her own bathroom, access to a library filled with medical journals. Min-jun's men stood guard at every exit. She saw Min-jun every morning at breakfast. He insisted on it, said it was safer for her to maintain a routine. He drank black coffee and read Korean newspapers. She picked at toast and avoided his eyes. "You are angry," he observed one morning. "I'm a hostage. You are a guest." "Guests can leave." Min-jun set down his newspaper. "You are free to leave whenever you want, Dr. Carter. I will not stop you. But the moment you step outside, the West Side crew will find you, and they will not be as kind as I am." Elaine's hands clenched. "Kind? You kidnapped me. I saved you." "Same thing to you, apparently." For the first time, she saw the ghost of a smile. "You have spirit," Min-jun said. "Good, you will need it." Days blurred together. Min-jun left every evening, returned near dawn, always in a fresh suit, always calm. Sometimes there was blood on his cufflinks, Elaine tried not to think about what he did in those dark hours, but she couldn't help asking one night when he came home at 4 a.m., exhaustion carved into the lines of his face. "Do you kill people?" He paused in the doorway, looked at her. "Yes." Elaine's breath caught. "But only those who have killed first," Minjun added quietly. "I am not a good man, Dr. Carter. But I follow a code. I do not hurt the innocent." "What about me?" she whispered. "Am I innocent?" Something flickered across his face. Pain, longing, something almost like tenderness. "You are the most innocent person I have ever met." He left before she could respond. 2 weeks in, Elaine woke screaming. The nightmare again, her mother's blood, her own useless hands. She was sobbing into her pillow when the door opened. Minjun stood there in a t-shirt and sleep pants, hair disheveled, eyes alert. "What happened?" "Nothing. I'm fine. Go away." He didn't move. Elaine wiped her eyes furiously. "I said I'm fine." Minjun crossed the room, sat on the edge of the bed. "You dream about her," he said. Not a question. Elaine's breath hitched. "How do you—" "I dream about my sister." The confession hung in the air like smoke. Elaine looked at him, really looked. Beneath the control, the power, the cold mask, she saw the same thing she saw in her own mirror every morning. Guilt. "She was 20, Minjun said quietly, staring at his hands. "An ambush. Someone I trusted sold us out. She died protecting me. Minjun, I should have seen it coming. I should have protected her." His voice cracked, just slightly. "I am the head of the Silent Blades. I control an empire. And I could not save my own sister." Elaine reached out, hesitated, then took his hand. His fingers closed around hers like a lifeline. "It wasn't your fault," she whispered. It wasn't." They sat in the dark, two broken people holding on to each other, and for the first time in 6 years, Elaine felt like someone understood. The West Side crew struck 3 days later. A drive-by shooting outside the building. 30 rounds fired into the lobby. 2 of Minjun's guards wounded. Elaine heard the gunfire from the penthouse. She ran to the window, saw the black SUV speeding away. Minjun appeared at her side, pulled her back from the glass. "Stay away from the windows. Are your men—" "They will live." His jaw was tight. "But this was a message." "What message?" "That they know you are here." Elaine's stomach dropped. Minjun made a phone call in Korean, sharp and urgent. When he hung up, his expression was grim. "We are leaving." "Where?" "Somewhere safer." He took her to a compound outside the city. 20 acres, high walls, armed guards, a main house that looked like a fortress disguised as a mansion. Elaine felt like she was descending deeper into his world, step by step, with no way back. That night, Minjun's second in command, a man named Jay, pulled Elaine aside. "You should not be here," he said bluntly. "Believe me, I don't want to be. You are a weakness." Jay's eyes were hard. "Minjun has not been the same since you came. He is distracted, soft. That will get him killed." Elaine's throat tightened. "I didn't ask for any of this." "Then leave." "He won't let me." Jay leaned closer. "He will not force you, but you are too afraid to walk away. Because you know the truth." "What truth?" "That you want to stay." The words hit like a slap. Elaine turned and walked away, heart pounding, because Jay was right. She did want to stay, not because of fear, because Minjun saw her, truly saw her, the broken parts she hid from everyone else. And she saw him too. The betrayal came from inside. One of Minjun's lieutenants, a man named Sung, sold information to the West Side crew. He told them about the compound, about Elaine, about Minjun's schedule. The ambush happened at midnight. 10 armed men stormed the compound, cutting power, breaching the south gate. Elaine was in her room when the alarms went off. Minjun burst through the door, grabbed her hand. "We need to move. Now!" Gunfire erupted downstairs. They ran through a hidden passage, down into a tunnel beneath the house. Behind them, the sounds of fighting, shouts, shots, breaking glass. Elaine's lungs burned. Minjun pulled her into a safe room, locked the steel door behind them. "Stay here," he said. "Do not open this door for anyone but me." "Where are you going?" "To end this." "Minjun." He cupped her face in his hands, eyes blazing. "I will not let them take you," he said fiercely. "I will not lose you." And then he was gone. Elaine sat in the dark, listening to the muffled sounds of violence above, praying for the first time in weeks, not for herself, but for him. Please, let him survive. Please. Min-jun came back covered in blood. Not his own. Elaine checked him frantically, hands shaking, searching for wounds. "I am fine," he said, catching her wrists. "I am fine." Sung? Dead. Elaine closed her eyes. Min-jun pulled her into his arms, held her tight. "And this has to end," he said into her hair. "I will not live like this. You will not live like this." "What are you going to do?" He pulled back, looked at her. "I am going to make a deal with the West Side crew. I will offer them half my territory. In exchange, they leave you alone." Elaine's eyes widened. "You can't." "I can. Min-jun, that's your empire. Your power. Everything you built. It means nothing if you die." Her breath caught. Min-jun's hands framed her face, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. "I spent 6 years building walls around my heart," he said quietly. "I told myself I would never care about anyone again. That caring was weakness." His voice broke. "But then you saved my life, and I could not stop thinking about you. Your hands, your eyes, the way you pray for patients you cannot save." Tears slid down Elaine's cheeks. "I cannot lose you," Min-jun whispered. "I cannot. So I will give them whatever they want. I will walk away from everything, as long as you are safe." "You'll resent me," Elaine choked out. "You'll hate me for what you gave up." "Impossible." "Min-jun, I love you," he said. "I have loved you since the moment you fainted in that ER corridor, and I realized you were destroying yourself to save strangers. I have loved you every day since, and I will love you until I die." Elaine sobbed, pressed her forehead to his. "I don't deserve you," she whispered. "You deserve everything. I let my mother die." "No," his voice was fierce. "You did everything you could. You were 23. You were human. You are not God. I should have saved her. And I should have saved my sister. But we cannot rewrite the past, Elaine. We can only choose what we do now." He pulled back, looked into her eyes. "So I am choosing you. I am choosing this. Whatever it costs." Elaine kissed him, desperately, hungrily, pouring 6 years of grief and loneliness and love into it. Min-jun kissed her back like she was oxygen. When they broke apart, she whispered, "I'm going with you." "No." "Yes." Her voice was steady now. "If you're walking into a deal with the West Side crew, I'm coming, because I'm not letting you sacrifice everything alone." "Elaine, you said I get to choose," she said. "So I'm choosing you too." The meeting was set for an abandoned warehouse on the docks at midnight. Neutral ground, Marcus had said. No ambushes, no tricks. Elaine didn't believe him for a second. She sat in the back of Min-jun's Mercedes, watching the Chicago skyline disappear behind them as they drove toward the industrial waterfront. Min-jun held her hand, thumb tracing circles on her palm, a gesture that had become their silent language over the past weeks. "I'm here. I won't leave you. We're in this together. You can still change your mind," he said quietly. "I can take you back to the compound. Let Jay handle this." "No." "Elaine, I'm not letting you walk into a potential execution alone." She squeezed his hand. "We agreed. Where you go, I go." Min-jun's jaw tightened, but he nodded. In the front seat, Jay drove in silence, eyes constantly checking the mirrors. 2 more cars followed behind them, 8 of Min-jun's best men, armed and ready. But Elaine knew the truth. If the West Side crew wanted them dead, numbers wouldn't matter. The warehouse loomed ahead, a skeletal structure of rusted metal and broken windows. Floodlights illuminated the entrance. 10 men waited outside, the West Side crew, all wearing their signature red bandanas. Marcus stood at the center, a mountain of a man with gold teeth and dead eyes. Min-jun's car stopped 50 feet away. "Stay close to me," he told Elaine. "If I tell you to run, you run. No arguments." "Min-jun, promise me." She looked into his eyes. Those dark, fathomless eyes that had seen too much violence, too much death, but still somehow held tenderness when they looked at her. I promise. She lied. They stepped out of the car together. The night air was cold, sharp with the smell of oil and rust and Lake Michigan. Elaine's heart hammered against her ribs. Minjun walked forward with perfect confidence. Every inch the Mafia boss. Shoulders back, expression unreadable, power radiating from him like heat. She followed half a step behind, trying to match his calm. Marcus grinned as they approached. Well, well. The Korean prince himself. And you brought your pretty little doctor. We are here to negotiate, Minjun said, voice like ice. Not to exchange pleasantries. Straight to business, I like that. Marcus circled them slowly. Predatory. You want to make a deal. Give me half your territory, all your operations south of Roosevelt Road in exchange for protection for the girl. Yes. That's a lot of real estate, Minjun. Warehouses, clubs, distribution networks. You built an empire. And you're willing to just hand it over. Marcus stopped in front of Elaine, looked her up and down like she was merchandise. She must be something special. Minjun's hand moved almost imperceptibly toward his concealed weapon. Elaine touched his arm gently. Don't. Not yet. She is worth more than any territory, Minjun said evenly. Do we have a deal or not? Marcus laughed. You're really in love with her. Jesus. I didn't think the great Kang Minjun had a heart. Everyone has a weakness, Minjun replied. This is mine, now answer the question. Marcus studied them for a long moment. Then he shrugged. Yeah, we got a deal. Half your territory, you both disappear from the underworld, and we're square. No more attacks, no more threats. You live your boring civilian life. We expand our operations. Everybody wins. He extended his hand. Minjun stared at it. Elaine knew what this handshake meant. The end of everything he'd built. The surrender of his power. The loss of his identity. All for her. She started to speak, to tell him he didn't have to do this, that she would find another way. But Minjun was already reaching forward, clasping Marcus's hand. Agreed, he said firmly. Marcus grinned. Pleasure doing business, man. Really. They shook once, twice. Elaine felt a wave of relief so intense her knees nearly buckled. It was over. They were safe. They could leave this world behind, build something new, something clean. The gunshot shattered the night like breaking glass. Everything happened in slow motion. Minjun jerked backward, hand releasing Marcus's, eyes wide with shock. Red bloomed across his white shirt, spreading fast. Elaine screamed. Chaos erupted. Minjun's men drew weapons. Marcus shouted orders. Someone was yelling about a shooter in the warehouse. Elaine caught Minjun as he fell, easing him to the ground, her hands immediately going to the wound, high right chest, blood pulsing between her fingers. No, no, no. Her voice broke. Minjun, look at me. Look at me. His eyes found hers, unfocused, glassy. Around them, gunfire exploded. Minjun's men returning fire at the warehouse. Marcus's crew scattering. Someone screaming that it was one of their own guys. A kid who panicked. Elaine didn't care about any of it. She ripped open Minjun's shirt, saw the entry wound, small, dark, blood pumping steadily. Her training kicked in, cold and automatic. Jay! She screamed. I need a car, now. And something to compress the wound, a shirt, a jacket, anything. Jay was there in seconds, shrugging off his jacket. Elaine wadded it up, pressed it hard against Minjun's chest. Minjun gasped, eyes squeezing shut. I know it hurts, Elaine said, voice shaking but steady. But I need to stop the bleeding. Stay with me. Do you hear me? Stay with me. Elaine, his voice was barely a whisper. Don't talk. Save your strength. Tell Min-ah. You're going to tell her yourself, Elaine said fiercely. You're not dying tonight. I won't allow it. Jay scooped Minjun up, the man was surprisingly strong, and ran for the SUV. Elaine ran beside them, hands still pressing the jacket to Minjun's chest. They got him into the back seat, Elaine climbing in after him, cradling his head in her lap. Drive, she barked at Jay. Chicago Metro Hospital, as fast as you can. The SUV peeled out, tires screaming. Behind them, the gunfire finally stopped. Elaine worked frantically in the moving car. She checked Minjun's pulse. Fast, thready, weakening. His breathing was shallow, labored. Stay awake, she commanded. Minjun, look at me. What's our daughter's name? Min. His eyes fluttered. That's right. Minna. She needs her father. I need you. Elaine's tears fell onto his face. You promised me. You promised you wouldn't leave me. Didn't plan to. Then don't. Fight. Please, Minjun. Fight. His hand found hers, squeezed weakly. Elaine pressed harder on the wound, blood soaking through the jacket, warm and slick. She did the math in her head. Bullet-high right chest, possibly nicked the subclavian artery, definitely damaged lung tissue, maybe clipped the edge of the heart. No. She couldn't think like that. 2 minutes to the hospital, Jay called from the front. Faster. Jay floored it. Elaine leaned down, pressed her forehead to Minjun's. I love you, she whispered. I love you so much. You don't get to leave me. You hear me? You don't get to make me love you and then die. Minjun's lips moved. She leaned closer. Love. You. More. And then his eyes closed. Minjun. The ER team was ready when they pulled up. Elaine had called ahead, screaming instructions into Jay's phone. They pulled Minjun from the car onto a gurney, and Elaine rattled off his vitals. The wound location, estimated blood loss. Doctor. Hassan took one look at her. Elaine, you're covered in blood. Are you hurt? It's not mine. Take him to OR2. Gunshot wound to the upper right chest. Probable vascular involvement. He needs a thoracic surgeon, now. We've got him. I'm scrubbing in. Elaine, you can't operate on... I'm scrubbing in. Dr. Hassan stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. They ran. The surgery took 4 hours. The bullet had missed Minjun's heart by less than 2 centimeters, nicked his lung, and grazed the subclavian artery. Any one of those injuries could have killed him. But Elaine's pressure on the wound had slowed the bleeding just enough. Her hands didn't shake once during the surgery. She sutured vessels, repaired tissue, extracted the bullet with precision that came from years of trauma training and absolute refusal to let him die. When it was over, when Minjun's vitals finally stabilized, when the attending surgeon said, he's going to make it, only then did Elaine collapse. Dr. Hassan caught her, eased her into a chair. You saved him, he said quietly. Elaine stared at her hands, still covered in Minjun's blood, trembling now that the adrenaline was fading. I almost lost him, she whispered. But you didn't. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in 6 years, she prayed a prayer of pure gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. They let her into recovery an hour later. Minjun lay in the hospital bed, pale against white sheets, chest wrapped in bandages, monitors beeping steadily, alive, breathing. Here. Elaine sat beside him, took his hand carefully, avoiding the IV line, and just held on. She stayed there for 3 hours, watching him sleep, counting each breath like a gift. When his eyes finally opened, unfocused and hazy with pain medication, the first word he said was her name, Elaine. I'm here. She leaned close, smoothed his hair back from his forehead. I'm right here. Did we win? She laughed through her tears. We survived. That's better than winning. Minjun tried to smile, winced. Hurts. You were shot, you idiot. Of course it hurts. You operated on me. Someone had to save your life. You keep saving mine. It was my turn. His fingers tightened around hers with surprising strength. I love you, he whispered, eyes clear now, focused. Elaine, I love you so much. I love you too, she said, crying openly. So much. You scared me. Don't ever do that again. Can't promise that, Minjun said. But I can promise. I'll always come back to you. Elaine leaned down, kissed his forehead gently. Marry me, Minjun said suddenly. She pulled back, stared at him. You're high on morphine. Don't care. Marry me. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life making you happy. Minjun, I almost died tonight, he said, voice stronger now. And the only thing I could think about was that I never married you. Never made it official. Never stood in front of everyone and said, this is my person. This is the one I choose. His eyes searched hers. So I'm asking now. Marry me, Elaine Carter, please. Elaine sobbed, nodded. Yes. Yes, you ridiculous, impossible man. Yes. Minjun smiled. A real smile. The kind she so rarely saw. The kind that transformed his whole face. Good, he whispered. That's good. And then he drifted back to sleep, still holding her hand. Elaine sat there in the quiet recovery room, listening to the monitors, watching her future husband breathe. And she realized something profound. For 6 years, she had been trying to save everyone to atone for the one person she couldn't save. But tonight, she had saved the one person who mattered most. And in saving him, she had finally saved herself. 4 years later, the Carter Kang Community Clinic opened on the first day of spring. Elaine stood in the bright, clean lobby, looking at the wall of photographs. Patients they'd already helped during the pilot program, families who'd received free care, children who'd been vaccinated, elders who'd gotten their medications. Faces of every color, every background, every story. The exact dream she'd carried since medical school. Above the reception desk, a bronze plaque read, "In loving memory of Sarah Carter, 1954-2019, who taught her daughter that healing begins with compassion." Elaine touched it gently, whispered, "I did it. Mom, I finally did it." Behind her, small footsteps pattered across the floor. "Mommy! Mommy! Can I see the people now?" Elaine turned to see her daughter, 3 years old, dark hair and pigtails, her father's intelligent eyes, her mother's determined chin. Minna Kang, the absolute center of their universe. "Not yet, baby. The clinic doesn't open for another hour." "But I want to help." "You will help when you're older." "How much older?" "Much older." Minna pouted in exactly the same way Minjun did when he didn't get his way. Bottom lip out, eyes narrowed. Elaine fought a smile. Minjun appeared from the back hallway, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He'd traded his black suits for jeans and button-downs, though he still moved with that same controlled grace that had first captivated and terrified Elaine. "What did I miss?" he asked, handing Elaine her coffee. "Our daughter wants to start practicing medicine at age 3. Minjun crouched down to Minna's level. "That's very ambitious. But your mother is right. You need to study first. Go to school. Learn science and math and how to help people properly." "Did you go to school, Daddy?" Minjun's expression flickered. Just for a moment, a shadow of his old life. "I learned in different ways," he said carefully. "But I wish I had gone to school like your mother. She's very smart because she studied hard." "Then I'll study hard too," Minna declared, "and be a doctor just like Mommy." "You can be anything you want," Elaine said, picking up her daughter. "Doctor, lawyer, artist, a teacher, whatever makes you happy." Minna hugged her tight. "I want to make people not sad anymore." Elaine's throat tightened. Minjun met her eyes over Minna's head, and she saw the same emotion reflected there. Their daughter had inherited their shared purpose, to heal the broken places in the world. The clinic's grand opening was a quiet affair. No politicians, no press, no fanfare. Just the people who needed them. Families from the South Side, immigrants without papers, elderly folks who'd been rationing medications, young mothers with sick babies. Elaine worked alongside 3 other doctors and 6 nurses, all volunteers. She treated a diabetic man who hadn't seen a doctor in 5 years. A little girl with an ear infection whose mother was crying with relief. An elderly Korean woman with high blood pressure who kept thanking Elaine in broken English. At one point, Elaine looked up and saw Minjun in the waiting room, holding a toddler while the child's mother filled out paperwork. He was singing something soft in Korean, and the toddler was giggling. 4 years ago, this man had been the most feared crime boss in Chicago. Now he was a father, a husband, and a volunteer at a free clinic. Elaine's heart swelled impossibly full. That evening, after the clinic closed, they drove home together. Minna asleep in her car seat, classical music playing softly on the radio. Their house was in Oak Park, a quiet suburb with tree-lined streets and good schools. Nothing like the penthouse or the compound, just a normal house with a blue door and a garden Elaine was perpetually trying and failing to maintain. Minjun carried Minna inside while Elaine unlocked the door. Their dog, a gentle golden retriever named Bomb, greeted them with enthusiastic tail wags. She needs to go out, Elaine said. I'll take her. You get Minna to bed. They moved through the evening routine with practiced ease. Minna changed into pajamas, teeth brushed, tucked into bed with her favorite stuffed rabbit. Tell me a story, she demanded sleepily. Elaine sat on the edge of the bed, smoothed her daughter's hair. And once upon a time, there was a doctor who wanted to help everyone in the world. Was she you, Mommy? Maybe. And did she meet a prince? Elaine smiled. Something like that. And did they live happily ever after? They're working on it. Minna's eyes drifted closed. I love you, Mommy. I love you too, baby. So much. By the time Elaine left the room, Minna was breathing deeply, completely asleep. Elaine found Minjun on the back porch, sitting on the swing they'd installed last summer. She settled beside him, curled into his side. For a long time, they just sat in comfortable silence, watching fireflies dance in the garden. Do you ever miss it? Elaine asked finally. The power, the control, the respect people had when you walked into a room? Minjun considered the question seriously. He always did, never dismissing her thoughts. Sometimes, he admitted, there was a clarity to that life. You knew who your enemies were. You knew the rules. You knew your purpose. And now my purpose is more complicated, but infinitely better. He turned to look at her. I wake up next to you. I have breakfast with our daughter. I help you at the clinic. I coach Minna's soccer team on weekends. His voice softened. I am not feared anymore, but I am loved. And that is worth more than any empire. Elaine took his hand, laced their fingers together. The scars from that night 4 years ago were still visible on his chest. She saw them every morning, a reminder of how close she'd come to losing him. I used to think redemption meant suffering, she said quietly, that I had to punish myself forever for failing my mother, that I didn't deserve happiness or peace or love. And now I think redemption is choosing to build something good from the rubble, choosing to believe you're worthy of a second chance. She looked up at him. You gave me that. You saved me in every way a person can be saved. Minjun shook his head. You saved yourself, Elaine. I just made sure you survived long enough to realize it. We saved each other, she corrected. Yes, he agreed. We did. They sat together as the sky darkened, stars emerging one by one. Somewhere inside, Bomb barked at something. Minna murmured in her sleep. The ordinary sounds of an ordinary life, the most extraordinary thing Elaine had ever known. Later that night, lying in bed, Elaine's phone buzzed. A message from Dr. Hassan. Saw the news about the clinic. Proud of you. Your mother would be too. Elaine stared at the words for a long time. Then she typed back, Thank you. I finally believe that. She set the phone down, turned to find Minjun watching her. You okay? He asked. More than okay. Elaine moved closer, rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Strong, steady, alive. I was just thinking about how different my life is from what I imagined. Better or worse? Impossibly better. She tilted her head to look at him. I thought I'd spend my whole life alone, working myself to death, trying to atone for something I could never change. Instead, I have you, Minna, the clinic, a real life. Minjun's arms tightened around her. You deserve all of it. So do you, Elaine whispered. You're a good man, Minjun. You always were. You just needed permission to believe it. He kissed the top of her head. Outside, a siren wailed in the distance, someone else's emergency, someone else's crisis. Once upon a time, Elaine would have felt guilty for not being there, not helping, not sacrificing. But tonight, she just held her husband and breathed. Because she had learned the hardest lesson of all. You cannot save everyone, but you can save yourself. And sometimes, if you're impossibly lucky, you can find someone who chooses to save you back. 5 years after that. Minna was 8 years old, reading medical textbooks for fun. The Carter King Community Clinic had expanded to 3 locations. Minjun's security firm had partnered with domestic violence shelters, providing free protection for at-risk families. They had another child, a son named James, named after Elaine's father. On their 10th wedding anniversary, they stood in the original clinic, looking at the wall of success stories that now covered an entire corridor. Thousands of patients treated. Hundreds of lives changed. Dozens of people who'd gotten second chances, just like they had. We built something good, Minjun said quietly. We did, Elaine agreed. He turned to her, took both her hands. If you could go back, he said, to that night when you fainted in the ER corridor, knowing everything that would happen, all the danger, all the fear, would you change it? Elaine thought about it. Thought about the warehouse, the gunshot, the blood, the terror. Thought about Minna's laugh, James's tiny hands, the clinic, the life they'd built. Thought about forgiveness, redemption, and love that transformed everything. No, she said firmly. I wouldn't change a single moment. Minjun smiled, that rare, brilliant smile, and pulled her close. And Dr. Elaine Kang, former trauma surgeon, former hostage, current wife and mother and healer and builder of dreams, leaned into her husband's embrace and finally let herself rest. The journey had been impossible. The ending was perfect. And the story, their story, would continue for the rest of their lives. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. And click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.